Today we'll be talking about the Netflix series One of Us is Lying. So One of Us is Lying is basically the adaptation of the book of the same name by Karen M. McManus. I read the book a couple of years ago, but I really liked it, and actually the way that I organize my books depends on how much I like them. So the higher they are, the more I like them. And this one is in one of the top shelves, so I thought that it was a really good book. So the story is about 5 teenagers who are in detention, and one of them is called Simon, and he runs this app where he just basically outs everyone's secrets, and it's all about gossip. So obviously a lot of people don't like Simon. So what happens is that in detention, Simon falls to the ground, he starts choking, and he dies. Then it turns out that someone put peanut syrup into his cup. And well, there was only 4 people in the room, so one of them must have done it. So in the book, what I really like is that the teenage crime is not as cringy as it kind of is in most teenage crime books. I am not here to review the book, but it was important for me to mention it because I will go back to it at the end of the video. So now, finally, let's talk about the Netflix adaptation. So let's start with the visuals. As for the cinematography in this series, I think that it was just okay. It was pretty normal, I think pretty basic. I mean, they did a good job because you understood what was happening and what you were seeing, and there wasn't any like weird shots, or they didn't abuse a certain color. So I think that there's nothing worth mentioning about it. It was okay. The only thing that I guess I will mention is that in the first episode, they used the Dutch angle a bit too much. So you have these 4 teenagers who are basically accused of killing one of their classmates, and every time someone approached them, the camera just went whoop. I understand why you would use a Dutch angle. It was basically to show the mental state of the characters, you know, how out of place and how on the edge they were about this whole investigation, because the 4 of them were like innocent, so obviously they got really nervous every time someone tried to ask them a question. Now let's talk about the characters. As for teenage characters go, I think that they were pretty realistic. Usually in this teenage crime, teenage drama, the teenagers in the series tend to act a little bit older than they are. They usually do things that a normal 17-year-old in high school wouldn't do. But in this series, I think that they kept it very on age. So I'm looking at my phone for the name of the characters because I don't want to miss anyone. So first you have Bronwyn, that is basically your nerd, but she isn't taken to the extreme, right? Like she isn't like super tight and super angry all the time. Like yes, she wants to obey the rules because the last thing she wants is to get in trouble. But she likes to get in a little trouble with Nate, and she is not as uptight as your regular nerd would be. I really think that it works, and it shows that she has a strong personality, because usually the nerd type is also very shy or also very submissive, but Bronwyn isn't. Then you have Nate Mccauley, who basically is the criminal of the group. What makes him a criminal is that he sells drugs, but really he is an actual nice guy. A little rough around the edges, but nice. And obviously the bad boy has a crush on the goody two-shoes girl. So basically Nate likes Bronwyn, but she's a little bit reluctant about him because he's a bad boy and she cares about her image. Then we have Addie Prentice, who in the trope game, she would be the cheerleader slash beauty of the group. What happens with her is that she's obsessed with her boyfriend, and she basically has her whole future planned with him because he is rich, really nice to her, and she thinks that she will have a really nice life with him. I mean, I'm making her sound like a gold digger, but she isn't. Like, she genuinely loves Jake, and she would genuinely do everything he asks of her. And our last protagonist is Cooper Clay, who is the jock of the group. He is a baseball prodigy, and he is just trying to get a good scholarship in a good college. So it is basically confirmed that Simon had secret on these 4 people. So these 4 being on detention on that day at the same time with Simon was not just by chance. So Bronwyn's secret is that she stole the answers for a final exam. The secret of Nate is that he sold pills to this girl that was super drunk and she almost overdosed thanks to him. Addie's secret is that she cheated on Jake with one of their friends. So basically Jake went to Europe for a whole month and he didn't answer her in all that time, so she thought that they were over And she was really sad and angry, so she cheated. And Cooper's secret is that he is gay. So obviously, since the 4 secrets that were going to be revealed at the end of the week had to do with the 4 people that were in the same room with Simon, obviously the police are onto them because they had a motive. So from the very start, Bronwyn starts denying this rumor, and she has a good reputation to back her up. So for her, it was really easy for the police to believe her. And her whole arc, her whole deal is that she's always presenting herself as perfect, like she's a perfect student. And so her little sister knows that she cheated, and she's like, you are not admitting you did it because you want to be perfect, but you are not. You're afraid to admit that you are not perfect. So the whole deal with Bronwyn is that she's too afraid to admit that she is not perfect as everyone thinks she is. Which, I mean, if I have a perfect score in school, if I'm doing everything to have a perfect score, but there is this one class that I just cannot understand, like I'm having a hard time understanding it, and so I decide to steal the answers for the exam so I can keep my score intact. I don't think that's being afraid of not being perfect. I think that's just like desperate times call for desperate measures. But I don't think that she actually has an arc. She just behaves the way that she is supposed to according to her character. Like, she is a character who stands by her principles, and that's really good. Her lawyer is advising her to stop hanging out with Nate because that can ruin her image and that can implicate her even more in the death of Simon. But Nate is innocent, so the right thing to do is to stand by Nate. And she doesn't leave him alone. Like, eventually in the series, he is accused of killing Simon because he was like the obvious one to accuse. And she stands by Nate even when he is sent to jail because he was like the obvious suspect, but she is fighting to set him free because she knows he's innocent. So at the end of the day, Bronwyn does what her character is supposed to do, and that is the right thing. As for Nate, I think that he was actually being my favorite character, but by the end of the series, I was a little bit annoyed with him. I mean, there's going to be a season 2. I'm gonna talk about this on the next section of the video, but I think that they left his development as a character for the next season, because what happened with him is that he's sent to jail, so Bronwyn uses the money that she has saved for college to get him out of jail. And instead of him being like, thank you, he's annoyed that she did that for him because now he owes her. And so at the end of the series, instead of these two being together, like Bronwyn has done all of these things for him and just trying to stand by him, and he starts ignoring her because they don't belong together. He's a bad boy and she's a good girl, so they do not mix. And it was annoying because at the start of the series, he was the one going after Bronwyn and trying to convince her to go out with him. And when he finally gets this girl in love with him, he's like, we don't belong together because I owe you money. He literally had no arc. He was just like the handsome bad boy of the series, and that's it. Which is really sad because I think that the actor did a really good job at creating a very likable character. For Cooper, his character arc, I think that it was okay. It was like Bronwyn, like it was not like this big whole thing. So basically, he's afraid of coming out because he knows that his father won't like it because gay people and sports do not mix. But there is this guy that he really, really likes, and obviously this guy just won't be with him until he is true to himself. And by that doesn't mean that he wants Cooper to just come out to the world and be like openly gay all the time. But he just wants Cooper to be honest with himself because Cooper has been putting all of these excuses as of why he has not come out, which can be valid, but Chris kind of knows that Cooper is lying about the reason, and the reason is his father, and his father is actually kind of an asshole about it. You know, so eventually the rumor about Cooper is changed and Simon didn't out him. So Cooper eventually grows tired of losing Chris because he cannot be honest with himself and his friends and everyone. So he finally does it. He finally comes out and he goes to Chris and they take this cute picture together, and Chris uploads it to Instagram and tags Cooper. And his father just goes to Cooper and is like, tell your friend to erase the photo. And Cooper is like, he's not my friend, he's my boyfriend. And good for him. And that's just his arc. And as for Addie, I think that Addie is the one that has the biggest arc of all of the characters. Because at the start of the season, Addie is pretty obedient towards Jake. Like, she just do everything he says, he controls everything about her, and she does it because she's afraid of losing him. So eventually, Jake finds out that she cheated on him and that she lied to him because she didn't tell him about it. Not only she cheated on Jake, but she cheated on him with her best friend's boyfriend. So obviously she loses all of her friends and everyone is judging her, and she decides she needs a change. So she cuts her hair and she changes the clothes that she's wearing, and she starts feeling more comfortable being her own person. And at the end of the series, when it's revealed that it was Jake, the one who was posting the secrets even after Simon was dead, and that he was the one who took the EpiPens out of the infirmary so they couldn't help Simon, the new independent person that Addie has become comes into play because she is able to choose her friends instead of choosing Jake. So if I need to put these characters in place, I would put Bronwyn at number 1, Addie number 2, Cooper number 3, and Nate number 4. And lastly, let's talk about the story. I was actually very pleased with the story in the series, because the characters have realistic problems. You know, Bronwyn wants to get into a good school, Cooper as well, Addie needs to overcome a controlling ex, and Nate just has family problems and he sells drugs. It is nothing out of the ordinary, and that helped the series feel a little bit more real. It helped you connect with the characters because they are not doing this crazy stuff. I really like the involvement of the parents. Usually in these teenage series, you never see the parents unless the parents are the cause of a trauma. But in this one, these teenagers are being accused of a crime and the parents are super involved and there are lawyers and everyone is just trying to advise these kids because obviously they don't know what to do. So they don't only have the pressure of trying to prove that they are innocent, they have the pressure of their parents, like asking them like, what do you know? Do you know anything? Please tell me, like, we need to help you. You know, like having the parents there causes more tension because they are the authority of the house and you cannot do whatever you want. Something else that I really like about this series is that at the start of the season, you have all of these small talks and little details that can seem inconsequential to the story. But at the end of the season, all of those small details actually help to wrap up the season. You know, like those moments meant something at the end. They were useful. And I'm just really happy that they used those small details to build up things by the end. You know, like it wasn't just a plot twist that it seems to be taken out of some writer's sleeve just to be like, aha, plot twist. Like it was actually planned. Like everything was actually there. And now, what I really want to talk about, and this is where the book comes into play, is the ending. So in the Netflix series, what happens is that Bronwyn pays for Nate to come out of jail. They go to this Jake's party because they know that he has Simon's Xbox. And that Xbox basically contains evidence that he has to do with his murder. You have the murder club working together to get that Xbox to take it to the police so they can prove that they are innocent. So Addie and Bronwyn are running away from Jake's house with the Xbox, but Bronwyn hurts her ankle, and so Addie has to run away on her own. As she is going off in her little bicycle, eventually Jake finds her in his car, so she left her bicycle and she enters the forest to try to lose him. She is found by Cooper and Janae, and then Jake finds the three of them and he takes out a gun. So the four of them are basically just fighting for the gun, and eventually a shot goes off and it kills Jake. And this is where the story even was a bit stupid, and I'm just tired of this trope of teenagers not calling the police even if they should. So, you know, instead of calling the police and being like, oh my god, there was a shot fired, it was an accident, like this guy took out a gun and we were trying to take it away from him and now he's on the floor bleeding, please send help. Because if you really think about it, Jake was the one with the gun. Jake was trying to attack them because they had evidence that proved that he was guilty. So if they had gone to the police and told them all of this and showed the Xbox and showed everything, then they would have proven that they were innocent and nothing would have happened, and end of story. They don't call the police, they leave Jake's body there and run away. They go into school and pretend that nothing happened and that everything is back to normal. And going back to normal means that they are not going to talk to each other. And so, as these four people are sitting in the cafeteria, minding their own business, there is a text. And this text says, "I know what you did." So Netflix changed the ending of the book so they can pull off "I know what you did last summer" for the next season. Basically. I mean, I'm going to spoil the book, so if you want to read it, stop watching. I will put a time code on the screen so you can know where you can start listening again. In the ending of the book, first, Bronwyn never pays for Nate to go out of jail. She is just talking to a lawyer to help her get him out of his sentence. And as for the rest, what happens is that Addie Cooper and Janae fight off Jake. They are able to get the evidence, and actually Addie gets a fractured skull and she is sent to the hospital. But thanks to that, they are able to prove that Jake is guilty, Nate is innocent, and so Nate goes out of jail, and everyone just lives happy ever after. I just wish that Netflix would let series live for one season. I understand that having second, a third, and fourth season means more money, more viewership, and all of that. But sometimes I just wish that Netflix understood that some stories are meant to be told in one season. And I think this one would have benefited more of being told in one season because the ending of the characters was much more rewarding instead of just leaving them in conflict. For example, I didn't like that they have Bronwyn using all of the money that she has saved for college to get Nate out of jail, just to make that another point of conflict in their relationship. Bronwyn really thought that she was doing something good and it just backfired. Like, it was just a change to create more conflict for the second season. And the other thing that I didn't like is the whole who killed Jake. It just becomes like in 13 Reasons Why, the whole mystery of who killed Bryce. And that is my fear, because the 13 Reasons Why is another example of how there are stories that need to be one season and just one season. Because now I am afraid that One of Us is Lying is gonna get the 13 Reasons Why treatment with what happened with Bryce, and it will get all weird and crazy and it won't make sense. Like, I want to believe that Netflix won't do it, but they kind of like doing it. And that's my problem. But overall, I give One of Us is Lying Season 1 a 7 out of 10. It was fun to watch, the characters were fairly likable, and at the end of the day, the mystery of who was impersonating Simon actually made sense, and I think that is what matters. And that was the review for One of Us is Lying. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you stay for the next one. Thank you!